Let's go to our first caller. Let's go to Rick calling from Florida. Hey, Rick.
Hey, Joe. Good morning.
Rick, what city are you calling from?
I actually live in Stuart, Florida.
All right. What can we do for you?
Well, I wanted to ladybird deed my primary residence to my son, who's my only heir, and to basically remove the asset from my name and avoid probate if, when I expire.
Okay.
And my only question is, in doing so, am I able to change that? Or say if I wanted to, 5 years from now, roll it back into my name or put it into a trust?
Yeah, I had a conversation with a client exactly along these lines yesterday, and here's what I told the client. Yes, you can do a ladybird deed. Yes, you can name your son as the beneficiary of your property on the deed. Yes, you can change the deed at any time. You could cancel that deed or change that deed and name someone else, or you can do whatever you want to do. You could sell the property before you die. You can do whatever you want to do with the ladybird deed, and the ladybird deed does avoid probate. Is there perhaps a alternative and a better way to do this? And my answer is yes. I would prefer, I would not do a ladybird deed. I would do a living trust, put the property into a living trust. You can always amend or change the trust. The trust has a beneficiary. The better part to me is that if I have a stroke or become incapacitated, that the successor trustee that I choose can now come in, take over, and manage that property and do whatever is needed to be done with it while I'm living. A ladybird deed, nothing really happens until you die.
Question.
Yes.
As far as, say, when I get older and I want to qualify for government benefits, if I put it in a living trust, does that actually, is that considered an asset in my name?
The homestead in Florida is a non-countable asset. So the homestead does not count as an asset at all, and it's protected from creditors. So the homestead has really no impact on qualifying for Medicaid. If all you had was a homestead, you would qualify for Medicaid. The house could still be left to your son, free from the claims of the nursing home or medical bills.
What about Joe? What about a second home? Like if I had a investment property.
A second home can also be treated as exempt if it's a rental home, or perhaps it's in another state and you put the home up for sale. There's a way that we can orchestrate around also protecting the second home in Medicaid planning. I have a full-time Medicaid attorney on staff. That's all he does is Medicaid. He probably works 50, 60 hours a week helping people reposition assets, qualify for Medicaid. We can usually qualify a person for Medicaid in maybe 60 days, and protect, move assets around. The power of attorneys that we do authorize the movement into non-countable exempt categories. And also, he and I have written a little book on asset protection in Medicaid. If anyone wants that, it's $20, and they can send in for it. And I'll give out my contact information several times during the show.
Great. May I ask one more question?
Sure.
Okay. This whole idea came about because of divorce in my life, and the simplest way to quiet claim the properties into my name was my doing the ladybird deed on both the primary homesteaded property and the income property.
So your wife signed a deed to you?
Correct.
But it's a ladybird deed?
Right. Yeah, correct. I want to have her sign a ladybird deed into quiet claim into ladybird deed.
Well, no, it would just be it would just be a quit claim deed from her to you, though.
Correct.
A ladybird deed doesn't really come into that transfer during a divorce usually.
Well, it would be. I would probably quit claim it and then ladybird it,
or consider putting it in a trust. I would suggest you at least consider that and have a conversation with an attorney about that.
There you go. Thank you, Joe, for your time today.
All right, thank you.